Welcome to the VT PIE GIS training. This is Pat Santoso from Axiomatic. Training is going to go for just a little under 30 minutes here. We're going to start with a PowerPoint, and then I'm going to walk you through the actual site. So our agenda, we'll review the data that's in the system. We'll then go into the viewer, and we'll start with map layers and navigation. Then we'll do searching and reporting, exporting data, and finally answer any questions that you might have. So what data is available in the VT PIE GIS? We have the GIS parcel data. This is the data that you submit to VCGI every year. We have the grand list data that you're submitting to PVR. So this is with your 411 submission. We have ortho photos, so aerial imagery. We have sales, and we have some derived layers. So a sales heat map, parcel shaded by value, parcel shaded by value change, parcel shaded by category code. We have current use parcels, and all of these layers are updated annually. So as we look in the system, I'll talk you through the different layers that are available and how you access them. Okay, so let's get right into the demonstration. So I'm going to stop my slideshow here and just move into the VT PIE GIS portal. So once you request your username, you will get a username and password. This is the portal homepage. This link will be included when you get your username. So to begin, all we do is sign in on the top right here. And this will stay signed in for quite a while. So if you are using the GIS links as you're validating sales, and it brings you over to here, just save your credentials and sign in. It'll keep you signed in for several hours. Do note that the username is case sensitive. So they should all be lowercase, but just keep an eye on that. If you're putting in the correct password, it might be that your username has capitals. So we're going to go ahead and sign in. And it's going to bring us to our homepage. I have a few viewers that you don't have here, but this is where you will see all the viewers, and we'll be adding to them over time. So I'm going to go into the viewer here, and as it's loading up, we have our disclaimer basically saying if you have any trouble, contact support. We'll agree to the terms and conditions and enter the site. And now we have our map view here and our queries over here on the left. So let's start with the map. You can click and pan and zoom with your mouse wheel. So just like Google Maps. So if we go around here, we can go into maybe the corner of a couple towns. And as we zoom in, we get a little bit more detail. And eventually the parcels will turn on. So this is a town boundary right here. So we do have coverage across town boundaries. So if you want to look at the parcel in an abutting town, you can do that. You can get parcel information just by clicking on that parcel. It will highlight and then give you some information about that parcel. So again, we can pan around and let's zoom in a little bit further. We get our span numbers now displaying. Let's take a look at some of our other layers that we have here. So we have our base map gallery. So this is where you can look at aerial imagery. We can switch that on. You can look at imagery hybrid. So this is the imagery with the road names. So some neat layers here to look at. The map defaults to navigation, which basically looks like Google Map as the base map. So we have those layers for you as well. And we have our custom layer list. So I'm actually going to use my home button to zoom out. And then we're going to go down to the Burlington area to take a look at some of these other layers. So again, just zooming in with my mouse wheel. Kind of go downtown here. So we have our sales from the 2020 ratio study. So if I click on that, you see our sales highlighting here. The green sales were included in the ratio study. The red sales were excluded. And with all of our layers here, if we just expand them, it'll give you a legend of how that layer is themed. So we have those sales available for you. We can also look at a sales heat map. So if I turn that on, you can see where there are clusters of activity here. And once again, if I open this up, that more yellowish is the high density of sales, and the blue is a lower density with kind of the red hues in between. Another interesting way to look at things is parcels by full value, percent change. So this is year over year change in value. You can see here not a tremendous amount of change in the area that I'm looking at here. And once again, I can open this up. Lower changes here up to the higher changes. Usually the higher changes are new construction. This is particularly interesting after a reval to see if things are moving proportionally. We can shade parcels by full value. So now we're just looking at the value of the parcel here is being what's being shown there inside the parcel. So this is also a neat way to look at that. Once again, if you open up, you can see the value blocks here that we're grouping parcels by. We can also look at parcels by category code. So this is interesting. Once we're getting data from your CAMA systems, we'll have your neighborhood codes as well if you're using neighborhood codes so that you can view your neighborhoods on the map. Once again, we have our legend here for the different category codes. And we also have current use. So I'm going to go a little bit outside of downtown here. And we can look at our current use parcels. So now we have all of our current use parcels shaded in there in this taupe sort of color. You'll notice now I'm kind of zoomed out and we don't have some of our layers available. So if you see they're grayed out, it usually means you either have to zoom in or out to have them be available. So now you can see that they're available. So that's what's going on there. We can turn off our current use parcels. We have several other layers here. Neighborhood development areas, growth centers, protected area, downtown village boundaries, and so forth. These are all VCGI layers, so they come directly from VCGI. We're just linking to them. So just a couple more map tools here. Maybe we'll zoom in to this area, turn on our imagery. And maybe we want to know the frontage of this parcel here. So we have a measurement tool here. It's a little ruler. And we can do either a distance measurement or an area measurement. So I'm going to actually, for the frontage, I'm going to go back to my navigation map so I can see the parcels a little bit more clearly. So we'll do a distance measurement here. You can pick your units, US feet. And I just click. And you can keep going. But if we double click, around 386 feet. We can clear it and do another parcel if we like. And double click to end. So we have our distance measurement there. We also have our area measurement, and this is the one I'm probably going to use imagery for. So maybe you wanted to get the approximate square footage maybe of the footprint of this house. So we'll use our area measurement. We'll use square feet. And we just simply trace around here. And obviously, the more detailed you are, the more accurate this measurement is. And we can do the complex shape here to get what's presumably the garage. And just keep going to dial it in. So about 2,300 square feet there. So it's a rough estimate. And then again, double click to end it. You could also do this if you wanted to find the area of the lawn, if you were trying to fertilize or seed. So things like that. Lastly here, and I'm just going to switch back over to navigation. We have our printing tool. So if you want to print out a portion of the map, just click print. You can title your map. There are advanced options. You can pick the scale, so forth. You don't need to worry about any of that though. But if you click on it, if you're a map guru, there's a lot of options here available to you, but you can just click print. It goes in and creates my print. And once it's available, we'll take a look at it. So we've got our demo map and just a map view of what we were looking at on the screen. So you can save that to your computer, you can print it out, etc. One thing I do want to highlight is if you kind of get in and you get a little bit lost, you can always just refresh and it will take you back totally clean slate. This is maybe a little bit more for queries, and we'll take a look at those next. But always, if you can't figure out how to get back to where you are, you can just refresh. F5 does the same thing on your keyboard. So let's take a look at searching here. So these are our search criteria. So let's just do some searches. Maybe we want to do 2021. We'll pick a town. Maybe Albany. We could search for a particular span. We could search for a particular property address. We could search for owners. So we'll just do Smiths. There are probably some Smiths in Albany. We'll click apply, and it's going to do our search here. So we've got some results here. It's zoomed to them. We can see them highlighted on the map. By default, it expands the results. So you can see here the information that we have. If we reduce that using this, we got a higher level view, and you can click and go to those particular records. Now, this is one of the important things here. The ellipses menu, the 3 dots. There are a couple cool functions here. This is how you export your data out to Excel. Maybe the Smiths aren't a particularly relevant search to property taxation and listing and so forth, but I just opened up on my other screen. So we've got a bunch of information here about the property, and this is the 40 some odd fields that you submit to PVR. So a lot of data here. We've got exemptions, we've got homestead house site value, going through whether or not it's a homestead, and then you'll get to some PY fields. So this is displaying last year's data. So if you want to do comparison and see if the category code changed, here's the prior year category code, prior year residency code. So when you see PY, that's just pulling in last year's data. And then you'll start to see some calculations. So full value percent change. So none of these had a full value change. Homestead change here, and you can expand these to see. So these are fields that we're just calculating and seeing what the change was year over year. So we do that for a bunch of stuff here, so you can see if things have been changing. So that's exporting data out to Excel, one of the most useful features. We won't save that. Another thing you can do, and again, not particularly relevant for maybe the Smiths, but you could do stats on any of these fields. So the Smiths have 106 or 107 acres. We could do improvement value, average improvement value of 82,000. So it just gives you some quick stats on that information. Perhaps more interesting is, let's take a look for homesteads in Albany. So we'll click OK. And it's going to give us our results. Now, I quickly did one of the tricky things to remember in the software. So I'm going to minimize these by clicking twice so I can get a nicer list. And going back to tasks is how you'll do that search again. So that's one of the things to remember. You go back to tasks, that's how you research. Of course, refreshing does exactly the same thing. So if you ever get stuck, F5 or refresh, that will bring you all the way back out so that you're back to the home and you can kind of start over. So all these criteria work together. So if you want homestead and current use, we can just modify that and apply. And now we have those parcels selected. Again, clicking this twice to minimize everything. And you can zoom down to these individual records. You can also export them out to CSV. Now, we do have additional searches that we could configure here. Basically, any of the data that you see in that CSV export, we can create a search for it. So if you think something would be helpful, don't hesitate to let us know, and we can work it through and see if we can add it, if it would be something that's helpful for the municipal assessors and listers. So that's the training that I had prepared, just running through a couple things very quickly, just as a refresher. We'll just click refresh. That's tip number 1. F5 or refresh brings you back home. Once it loads up, we'll just click through that we agree. So again, you can navigate around the map using the mouse, and the mouse wheel works just like Google Maps. You can click on a parcel to get information. The parcels turn on as you get kind of close to them. So you can click and get some information. We've got our base map layers here. So this is where you pick your aerial imagery if you'd like to look at that. We have our other layers. So this is where you can turn on sales. We can expand these to see what the cartography means. So we have all of our extra layers here. We've got our measure tool that we looked at. So if you want to get frontage or things like that. We've got our printing tool here to get a PDF version of the map that we're looking at. And we've got our searches. So when you run your search, your results go into your results. So flipping back and forth, tasks is where you search, results is where you get your results. In the example I did, I was picking a town. You don't have to. You can pick a county. You can leave all of these empty and do a statewide search for whatever you're looking for. Some of those data sets can be pretty huge, so it might take a couple of minutes if you're doing a big statewide search with, say, thousands of results. So that's the high-level view here, high-level review of the site. I'm going to switch back over to my PowerPoint here just to give you some support information. So we have a recording of this training session available for you, and there are 2 places that you can go for help. So software help is Axiomatic, so that's my firm, and we have our contact info on the top right there for support. We have our support website. You can email us at support@axiomnh.com or just give us a call. For process help, you use your district advisor, as you always have. Not too relevant for GIS, but the distinction we normally use is if you don't know how you should be valuing a current use property or how to merge a contiguous parcel, that sort of thing, or if you should merge a contiguous parcel, that's still your district advisor. If you know what you want to do but can't seem to make the software do it, that's Axiomatic Tech Support. So thank you all very much for your time. And I'm going to stop the recording now and take any questions. So thank you very much.